Welcome to Real Fishing UK. This video is part 3 of our Farlows Lake videos, Day Ticket Diaries. Basically this is going to show highlights of our sessions between September and October this year. Also we're going to look at some of the tactics we've been using, and these are tactics that we're confident in. There's lots of people that fish Farlows and do well, and you know they're using different things to what we're using, but we're going to share what we're using, what we've found works best for us, and what we're confident in. I believe if you go to Farlows with something you're confident in, then you catch fish. And I also think there's a little bit more tactics behind fishing Farlows that do help, but we'll share them with you throughout this video as well and talk about things we've found to work well for us. And you know, if someone picks them up and they work well for them as well, that's great. And if someone goes there and does something slightly different, that's great. It's a great venue to be fished, so it's definitely worth a try. Also, we're lucky enough to catch up with one of the owners at Farlows and have a brief interview about his plans and whatnot at the end of this video. And we're going to start off with a session that Lewis had on Goose's Green.
Just had this 2712. I've been here literally, what, 10 minutes? Just had this 2712. It's a cracking mirror. I've also lost one in the space of 10 minutes. Looks like it's going to be a good night. Right, just had this fish again off the same spot. It's the third fish of the session. Once I'm back on the money, so let's hope for a few more. Mint condition common. Let's get this beauty back.
After Lewis's success, Paul managed to get down the next day and decided to jump in after Lewis. Unfortunately, he didn't have as many fish as Lewis, but he did manage one within half an hour of being there, so he thought the signs were there, but unfortunately he didn't progress into anything else. But he had this stunner. Our next session was on Scott's Island. We managed to get down after work about 4 o'clock and get this swim that just goes to show you can still get a decent swim. Lewis was out the front of Scott's, myself out the right and Paul out the left. Unfortunately myself and Paul didn't catch, but Lewis had a session to remember, as you're about to see. We only done the night and pulled off probably about 11 o'clock the next day. But Lewis, you know, he had the best session he's had at Farlows, not for numbers of fish. As you're about to see, he's had more fish than this in a session, but the quality of the fish and the difference of fish, this is why Farlows is so good, I think, is you're about to see the different types of carp that he catches and scale patterns and whatnot is just really good. And I guess that's why we're all addicted to carp fishing a bit, is they don't all look the same, they've all got different markings, different scales, and you never know what they're going to look like, which is, I guess, part of the real enjoyment in carp fishing. But anyway, I had the pleasure of witnessing my brother's session here, and you know, I was over the moon for him. I would have liked to catch myself, don't get me wrong, but sometimes to witness the fish that he had on the bank within that period of time was something itself. So he was also lucky enough to have a new PB common carp, and a Kong Valley common at that.
Just had this fully scaled mirror. It's a beautiful looking fish. It's third fish of the session. I had a 30 common earlier. It's about 12 o'clock at night now. The rod's back out, just doing some photos. If you look at this fish, it's a right little corker. It's one to be caught. 23-pound dead. Just had the full fish of the session. It's 20.5-pound limb. These quick overnighters pay off. I got here at like 4 o'clock yesterday. So if you can get down for a quick overnighter, it's worthwhile.
In this session you see Paul fishing the gate swim. Lewis was with him as well, and Lewis didn't actually manage anything this session, but Paul did have 3 takes, but he only managed to land 1 unfortunately. But sometimes that's the luck in it, and sometimes, you know, you have a little bit of a bad day. It was a bit of a bad day, but then it all come good in the end because it topped off with a stunning 23-pound mirror that you're seeing on your screen now. After the blank session for Lewis, he got back out and had a go on Scott's.
Just had this 16.5 pounder, 16.5 pound linear. just off my baited spot. I didn't have anything the first night. It looks like they're just starting to get on it now. They're topping like crazy where I baited, so let's hope for a few more.
On this session, Lewis went on to bank a further 2 fish. What I'm going to do now is we're just going to talk through some of the rigs we've been using at Farlows. We've had a few fish onto the surface as well, not much during the zigs, but we know they've worked. We've seen people absolutely hauling on them. I've also done quite well on chod rigs and also hinge stiff rigs. We've definitely had a few fish on them, and Paul's had a few on them as well, I know. Lewis has kind of stuck to his guns a little bit more. He's had a couple on chod rigs and hinge stiffs and whatnot, but he's stuck on a snowman rig, and he's probably done the best out of all of us. Well, he has. He's banked about 63 fish now, and I've had about 50, so he's outfished me, and he's probably done less sessions on that rig. So I kind of slowly started to switch over, and when it's not happening on that, I do switch back over to the choddies, because like I say, I've had more success on the choddies and the hinge stiffs. But you know, I mimicked the changes. I did switch over to the snowman. It definitely started to outfish them for me this year on Farlows. Whether that will be the same or not, who knows. But I'm going to hand you over to Lewis now, and he's going to show you quickly through the snowman rig that we've been using and had the most success on. And we're not going to show you all the rigs, we'll just show you the one that's been most successful for us.
What I'm here for today, I just want to show you my rig I've been using. Right, so this is the rig what's been doing the damage. I'm using a Nash missing link, and that's in silk. Also, I'm using a quick change ring, so I can quickly change it over after I've had a fish. I'm using a bit of putty just to ensure the line to keep it pinned down. I've just uncoated a little section here just to make it more natural. Also got a little bit of shrink tube in there just to help with a kick when the fish picks it up. We go to the hook, and it's a Nash fang twister, and that is barbed size 7. And then I've got a 16mm OPM bottom bait by Carp company, and a high-vis OPM yellow pop-up, and that's the rig what's been doing the damage. It's pretty straightforward to make. I'm using a Palomar knot at the top by the little rink swivel, and I come down to a knotless knot, and that's pretty much it.
Regardless of your rig, whether it's hinge stiff, choddy, bottom bait, you know, pop-up, snowman, I think as long as you're confident in it and it's presented well, you stand a good chance at Farlows. But I think the biggest tactic that we've used and the most success for us is walking the venue. I mean, we've walked around for signs of fish, and you know, 80% of the times at Farlows they definitely show themselves, and when we have found them, we've been most successful. I mean, we normally take about an hour to just walk around the venue. It's quite a big venue, and looking around, seeing if we can find anything, and when we have, we've normally done quite well. I mean, again, they do tend to show quite a lot of Farlows, and sometimes you see them in reeds, in margin spots and whatnot. When that's not happening, we go on telltale signs of, you know, winds and islands, holding spots. Sometimes you just have to go with your instinct, I guess. But we've done all different kinds of tactics at Farlows as well in terms of baiting. We've baited heavy in the spod, that's worked. We've done throwing sticks and just spread our bait, you know, the size of a service box on a tennis court, even a line of bait from one spot to another, and they've all worked for us. So it's not, you know, it's not a case of one working and one not. Sometimes you just got to change things, you know. We've been on choddy rigs before, they're not working, we changed to a bottom bait, then we changed to zigs. Zigs is another tactic that hasn't really worked well for us at Farlows yet, but other people have done really well on it. So, you know, it's just about changing things, I guess, when you're there. If it's not happening, being able to make the changes, and also if you're not on the fish, being able to pack up sticks and move and try and locate them again. Myself and Paul both managed to get out and do a session in Ramp Bay on separate occasions, and both of us banked 3 fish. The pick of the bunch was this stunning linear that you're seeing now on your screen. But a week after this session, I managed to get myself out for a 24-hour session on Scots, and the first night I had fish topping on my baited areas and I was just not having much luck, so I decided to do something a bit different and drop one of the rods short. I put 20 baits around it or so, and within 15 minutes it screamed off, and only a week or 2 after Lewis had his PB common, I managed to get myself one.
New PB common, really happy. First Farlows 30, hopefully the first of a few. Lewis bagged one last week and I followed that up with this. Really over the moon. obviously this is part 3 of our little videos at Farlows. Hopefully, you know, there might be a part 4 next year if the demand's high enough. I'm sure it will be.
I'm sure it will be.
But you know, you've only recently, not recently, but a year or so, taken over the venue, and all I hear is positive things. Like I say, I live 20 minutes down the road. Never fished it before, you know. I've heard bad things, whether they were true or not, who knows? That's hearsay. Past, don't really know about that. But just like to thank you and say what a great venue it is, and just, you know, ask you what the plans are really, where you're heading.
Appreciate that, Dan. Yeah, I think obviously we've actually owned the venue now for probably near enough 2 years. We only actually operate. We had a tenant when we bought it, which was Boy Leisure, and we've actually only been operating it as, you know, as a running business for now just under 11 months. So we're getting towards our first year. You know, we're very happy with how things are going. The lake's really kind of turned around. The customers who sort of felt that the place had been a bit run down are starting to come back. The fish have always been the draw with Farlows. I mean, you know, you've got all sorts of different strains. They're absolutely fantastic. Old, you know, 30, 40-year-old fish that just scaly beasts up to sort of like, you know, 40s.
Colne Valley kind of fish, aren't they? I mean, you've seen from the videos, the 3 parts, every part has had a stunner in of some sort. Not necessarily the biggest. I mean, myself, I want some of these little scaly ones in here now.
Yeah, I think that's the great thing about it. You know, you turn up to this lake, you never know what you're going to catch. You can, if you can learn where the bigger fish tend to come out from, and you can kind of target them if that's your thing, or you know, you can just fish through them and any day it can happen.
Also rumour has it, as you just brought up bigger fish, I know I'm not so much bothered, but Lewis, well, you see what Lewis does, he's obviously bothered about big fish, he likes to target a few bigger ones. Rumour has it there's some more big ones going in.
That's correct, yeah. It's over the next, well, probably 12 to 14 months from now, we're going to be looking at having about 35, maybe more, 30-pound fish, which are, as you already saw the stockies we put in last year, that were up to about 20 pounds. Just imagine 30-pound plus versions of them. So they're real, you know, they're really in keeping with what we've got in the lake. They are from the same lineage as the fish that are already in the lake. So if you like, we're just putting more of their cousins in.
Yeah. So you're not going to, you know, go and buy cheap fish. You're buying the best of the best to add to the best of the best.
Believe me, we're spending a lot of money.
I've seen one of the stockies. It was in one of the videos, part 1. Yeah. Lewis had one of the stockies, the big shoulders. You've got a different strain coming now. Hopefully we get down there and get some of that. Yeah. I can confirm that there's going to be a part 4 now with the information that I've just had next year at some point.
Let's hope so. You'll be able to get a meal on site as well. Home cooked, new toilet and shower facilities have just gone up. So we're you know, we're really putting our digging deep into our wallets to try and get the place, you know, a place where any angler is going to go, well, where am I going to go fishing this weekend? I know, I'm hearing good things about Farlows, let's go up there.
Well, I've seen it's not just lakes now. I mean, you've got 2 lakes, you can have a river section, you can have a canal. Everyone I speak to have had a go on the river, they've actually had a barbel. It doesn't seem to be that difficult, and, you know, barbels.
No. Well, what we're trying to create, obviously we've got the main lake, Lake 1, which, you know, we're trying to get it to just about the right stocking level, but we feel that, you know, as it's a real specimen lake, we want to have a big head of 30s in there, and we're looking to up it from currently about 30, we want to get to about 80 30-pound plus fish. You know, we could go out and buy 40-pounders, but that's not the way we work. We want to get fish that have grown on and people get used to them and understand the characters that they have. It's, you know, that's what it's all
genetics
about.
has it. If you're going to get 80 30s in there, some of them are going to go 40.
Yeah,
that's
correct.
I'd say that anyway.
Yeah, correct. Lake 2, which is, you know, it's only 6 acres, and that's already got about 500 fish, Leany Dink strain, plus probably 100 originals in there to unknown weights. They, you know, we're probably looking at a few 30s in there as well. Yeah. So far, it hasn't really got a lot of attention. There's not a lot of people fishing it. We're actually got our rods out here for a few hours, and I think once people realise the
stock in this lake is.
You probably noticed me. I've kind of drifted from that lake now over here to have a look. It's a little bit,
well,
you know, if it's busy over there, I'm not going to go home. I'm going to get my rods in here because I've obviously seen some of the scaly ones you're talking about.
Correct, and we will be putting some 30-pounders in there as well. Plus, we've got some VS sovereign strain fish coming. VS Fisheries, everyone knows them. Simon Scott, Viv Shears, two really great blokes. Really know their business. They're top strain. We're going to have 20 of them arriving fairly soon. We're going to see how they go, and then probably we'll look to put in another 100 to 150 fish of 15 to 20 pounds. You know, really, this lake will provide the best sport. You know,
what more could you want? You're going to have eventually have a cafeteria, place you can eat, chill out. You're going to have a lake over there with possibly 80 30s in. You've got a lake across the road that's going to be an out-and-out runs water by the sounds of it. And then if you don't fancy that, you've got a river and a canal. So yeah, they will.
There's something for everyone. And come March 2014, we're going to have the little pond which you can see just over there, which is called Lake 3. It's, you know, our view is if a goose can take off, a goose can take off, it's a lake. So that's going to be, you know, 20 anglers will be able to go on there. It'll be absolutely stuffed full of mixed fish. You know, great place to bring your kids. You know, mother, son, mother, daughter, father,
family day
son.
out fishing where you're going to catch. No matter
Plus you
what.
can get a feed on site. You've got really nice, clean facilities. And the staff, you know, we're really blessed with fantastic staff. Eggy and Les, who are sort of full time here, they keep a tight rein on things. We're really involved. So yeah, we just want to make a fishery which, you know, people come down to and go, wow.
I think you're definitely doing that. You're definitely good. Anyway, I'd like to say thanks from all us at Real Fishing UK, myself, Lewis and Paul.
It's good. We love your videos.
Hopefully we'll continue to fish here, and I hope, you know, although part 3's done, I am going to do a bit of a pipe video here, hopefully, and maybe even a river one and whatnot. And next year, hopefully, you'll see us back on Farlows and see some of these new fish.
Fantastic.